Well, welcome everyone to our podcast session on how to leverage being a DBE. My name is Andamaris Perez, and I'm your host for today's session. I am so excited to hear from my panelists today with their immense knowledge and guidance from all sides of spectrum of diverse suppliery. We're going to listen from the corporate side, the coach, and the supplier. And today we're having joining us today Johanna de la Cadena, Supplier Diversity Program Lead of CHEP. Then we also have Willie Johnson, Global Supplier Diversity of CHEP. And then we also have Michael Young, founder and CEO of ACY Contractors, and Ana Maria Lowry, President and CEO of AMP International. I want to thank you all for being here and joining us today as we dive into our topic on how to leverage being a DBE. Now, Mrs. Larry, if you can please start off with this discussion.
Well, thank you, Damaris. It's always a joy to have you as our host because you bring the youth and the beauty. So thank you so much.
And to you, Ana Maria. To you.
Oh, thank you so much, Willie. And we are welcoming another guest. We have an assistant, is Olivia. She is the most beautiful girl who became the fruit of the love of Michael and Felicia. Olivia is a precious little girl. So thank you, Michael, for inviting her. We are so excited because today we brought one of a kind, the winners in all areas of diversity. So I wanted to give the opportunity to the audience to hear the two perspectives because actually AMP International came focused after listening to the frustrations of some of the diverse suppliers and then talking to the corporations, their frustrations, and then how can we help to solve this problem so the diverse suppliers and the corporations can better leverage supplier diversity. We know them for many years. They are hiding their gray hair because we know them for since 2009 at least, and it has been a joy to work together and to see the different paths and the growth that each one of us have had. So first of all, I want to start with Willie, who I need to congratulate first because you probably heard about it, how the Orlando Business Journal award him with one of the corporations that represent diversity and inclusion. And we personally, AMP, has benefited through the several occasions that he has given us support in different areas to our company and to our clients. So welcome to the podcast, Willie, and it's an honor to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So my first question to you, Willie, is under the eyes of that corporation, how do you see that a DBE can leverage that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, I want to do this.
Yes.
And so, thank you very much. And with that being said, and thank you for mentioning that, because first and foremost, it was an organizational effort, right? I may be the face of diversity and inclusion for CHEP, and may lead the program, but it was definitely a group effort, which leads us to the external or extension of diversity and inclusion outside of CHEP's four walls, known as supplier diversity. And so, Ana Maria, can you repeat that question again? Because I got lost. I'm so excited. I got lost.
Absolutely. That is awesome. How can a DBE, under the eyes of a corporation, can better leverage their position? We are coming from prior opportunities where we see that sometimes diverse suppliers believe that it's an entitlement. I had the certification, now I go to the corporation and they have to give me the business. And I don't think that that is a good thing. We actually, in AMP, we had twisted what we understand for DBE. We understand that doing business with excellence. So, under your eyes, tell us, how do you think a corporation will be more benefited from a DBE leveraging in a better way their position?
Yeah, no, and that, and that's a good question, and that's where I was going, but I got lost, right? Um, so DBEs can actually leverage their because most DBEs are small enterprises. You can leverage your agility, and you're able to make decisions a lot quicker than some of the bigger organizations. And the reason that I say that is, for example, if there's a certain technology or innovation that you can bring to the table, we're going to be open to listening to that. And we know that we can implement that a lot quicker with you than we can if we were to go to a huge organization in which it has to go up several levels of approval, if you will. Um, and even more importantly, we will take pride. We as an organizations, I know that CHEP has taken pride in being able to grow some of our DBEs from becoming just what's known as a vendor, in which you're just a number, right? Because there's a vendor number assigned to you, to actually becoming a strategic partner, which means that you're embedded within our day-to-day operations.
That's awesome. And I want to ask also, Johan, who you literally stole from the Florida State Minority Supplier Development, her coming as a vice president. So way to go. CHEP must probably be so much celebrating because Johan is one of a kind. Johan came from a lot of history as well. She knows the supplier diversity in and out. So Johan, from your perspective, because you have been in both sizes, you have been helping us diverse suppliers in getting our certifications, and then you become part of the role of being the liaison with the corporations, and now you are the corporation. So help us. How can we leverage better under your perspective? You are mute, Johan.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you again, Ana Maria and A&P team for having me, or including CHEP, Willie, and myself. Yes, so with the 12 years of working with the regional affiliate of NMSDC, I got, as you mentioned, Ana Maria, both aspects, like assisting the small businesses, the minority-owned companies, and then also trying to connect them with all of those different corporations. And it doesn't happen overnight. And that's one thing that I think I mentioned even to you when I did the site visit. The certification is a sheet of paper. And you mentioned earlier that some of the people who get certified, they feel entitled, or they feel that once they get it, Disney will come knocking on their door and say, I heard you became certified. Come do business with us. Like, we have this for you. But that's not the case. And I see that now from a corporate side, that there is a lot of vendors. We do have to see the cost savings, the innovation, see what value add the supplier brings. So I assume that you may be asking this question later on, but it does take a lot of relationship and time and patience, and just, trying to put your company out there and the networking.
Thank you so much, Johan. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I just want to tell everybody that actually I am in great debt with CHEP, because it was CHEP the one who, when I brought one of our diverse business enterprises client, and at that time, Tammy was working in the procurement aspect with you, Willie. Mm-hmm. We introduced the client, and she made the comment, wow, how great was to have a diverse supplier that knows what to do, that know that he's with the results and all of that. So that brought us the idea of, let's get focused on preparing the diverse suppliers, take away the entitlement attitude, and then allow them to shine.
Yes.
So now we have Michael. Michael, under the view of a diverse supplier, also being a winner, I don't have the time, Michael, to say how many awards you have received with Felicia, but two that come to my mind were the Supplier of the Year as an Eagle Award from the African American Chamber of Commerce, and also the Presidential Supplier Award from the Florida State Minority Supplier, and many more, meaning and recognizing how you have been an example of leveraging your supplier diversity. Tell us, what have you done to earn those win awards so we can make some more winners on the future?
Well, thank you, Anna Maria, for having me. If you guys hear some footsteps, it's my little daughter running back and forth. It's her nap time, but she may or may not work with us today. But thank you again for having me. I mean, that is a very loaded question, and there's a lot when it comes to setting an organization up for that type of prestigious award, and I don't take it lightly. There's a lot that comes behind it, behind the scenes of doing the work, and everything I've learned is that business is all about relationships. You have to leverage relationships. People do business with those that they like. So if people do not like you, most likely they will not do business with you. And so regardless if you have a certification or not, you still need to keep that in the forefront and as a priority in your business to leverage those relationships, build those relationships. And Maria, I know your book, Dealing with Diversity, speaks on that and the importance of relationships and being able to cross cultural boundaries. That's also very important. So how we leverage that is often a challenge. But I think once you figure out those that love you, you can better engage those opportunities with or without your certification. If you're focused just solely on your certification, you must strategically identify those opportunities. So, barriers to entry, hopefully they're a little bit lower with organizations that accept certifications. Those that don't, sometimes that barrier to entry is a little bit higher. So identifying those organizations where you can develop an easy relationship, have those opportunities to at least introduce yourself and then go where you're loved. I'm big on that. If you're not feeling the love, you might as well go somewhere else, because otherwise you're going to spend a lot of time and effort working on developing that relationship. And sometimes for a startup business, that's very hard and very difficult. You need to get work and revenues flowing into your business. So I will always tell any DBE, start where you have relationships and then build from there.
Thank you so much. And how important that is. And we go back to you, CHEP. Willie, can we also say that CHEP buys from people they like? Is the relationship important too?
So yes, we do. And you know what? And that's to Johanna's point earlier, and the same point that Michael just made. It's about developing the relationship. Um, to have a certificate or certification is a plus. It's an added bonus, but to actually bring value and a relationship, because business is based off or built on relationships, to bring an actual relationship to the table, it gives you a vested interest.
Absolutely.
So absolutely, Ana Maria. Uh, we we buy and do business with the people, and I guess we can call the legal entities people, right? That we like. And to your point, Ana Maria, when uh, when that procurement buyer met with AMP International, and you were able to bring someone to the table that was able to provide us with innovation, that immediately cemented the relationship, right? And I don't mean to make this an AMP commercial, but the training, the coaching, and the mentoring that you brought to the table that day, and I remember that meeting, was priceless,
Thank you
because
so
you
much.
did get that supplier ready for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Willie. And I see Johan as the one here on this meeting, the one that is dating. and hopefully growing into marriage. So how can you compare that relationship between DBE and a corporation with a dating relationship and a marriage relationship, Johan?
Well, and it's funny that you bring that up, because yesterday when I was discussing with Willie, this scenario, it's always mentioned when I would do the MBE orientations. And it was always brought up by Kimberly Rozier John Louis, that everybody here on the call knows her. She's the owner of 3G Strategic Management. But she always told everybody about building that relationship. When you're courting, you just don't go and point at somebody and say, you and me are going to get married. Mm-hmm. It takes time. It takes you, like, I've been dating for 4 years. And so we're still building that relationship, getting to know each other before we can actually like get married or, you know, be awarded a contract for that say. So it does take time. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes, you know, maybe it's not just on the relationship level. It can be that there's no opportunity. Maybe the contract or the services that you're trying to go after has been already awarded, and it's a 5-year contract, 3 or 5 year contract, and they're still in the middle of it. But you still continue to develop those relationships and just make sure that, you know, Willie Johnson knows that you're still around. Okay. And, you know, just, you know, like a little tickler, I'm still here, you know, and then once, if it does open up, then you'll be included if the price and the innovation is there.
Absolutely. And I thank you for that, Johan. And I didn't want to put you in the spot so you can invite us to your wedding, but we celebrate that. But I also think that there is a little mistake that the diverse suppliers usually do. They get tired after a while of going to events. There have been so many times where I go to events, and even there could be some training for diverse suppliers, and humbling people say, what are you doing here if you could be doing the training for us? And I say, we always learn. We never stop learning. And also the relationship, a lot of times they want to do just business with the Willies, with the Johannas, with the CHEPs, and they forget that they can do business also with the Michaels. So tell us about the tier 1 and tier 2. How does it go about? Michael.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. Do you only do businesses with the big corporations in tier 1, or you also encourage other diverse suppliers to do business within themselves that it could be known as a tier 2?
Oh, no, I mean, absolutely. All tiers. It's important to not only diversify, but to actually make up your market segment in your business in, you know, a variation. See, I knew she wasn't going to act right.
It's okay. We are fine. We love her.
It's really important to diversify your portfolio of business and revenue streams with not only corporations, but also peer-to-peer. That's really important in supporting also your community base. I think, you know, as you would want corporations to select diverse vendors, you should also practice what you preach. And that means you should also procure diverse vendors as well internally. So one thing that we haven't talked about is the disparity in certain ethnic groups.
Yes.
There is a disparity among certain ethnic groups, and I think each corporation should look at that, identify those disparities, and say, hey, how are we going to be intentional behind reaching out to those ethnic groups in order to increase our diverse spend in that area. And I think that corporations and the vendors have to be intentional in saying, how can we make this happen? What's amicable for both parties? And I would just add to what Johanna said, everybody doesn't have to date for a long time.
That's right.
Some people, they need to date for a long time. Olivia. And some people can date for a shorter period of time based on their level of maturity, based on how much experience they have. It can also help and assist with developing that relationship sooner than later.
That sounds good. We heard what Michael was saying. Do you see that also, Willie, in the corporations? Do you have a challenge in balancing diversity with the procurement? I have noticed it a couple also, and that's something that we are intentionally increasing and preparing people. And I think it's because also the diverse supplier is not outgoing. We use a lot the desk module, and the Hispanics, we are always there. And there are tons of Hispanics utilizing the diversity, supplier diversity. We see less of the African Americans, Asian. We start to see more of veterans in transition coming to leverage their certification. How can we help corporations to balance that?
Yeah. So there was something that I spoke of in the Orlando Business Journal write-up, and I think that it was pretty provoking, if you will, because it was talking about and I'm just going to talk to the Orlando MSA. It was talking to the diversity and inclusion professionals getting involved with many of the disparity studies that actually go on. Um, so that was the thought-provoking thing that I threw out there to kind of challenge our colleagues in the industry to get more engaged in knowing the demographics and the market. But at CHEP, we have a pulse on who those diverse suppliers are that we're currently doing business with, and there's also a plan on growing those suppliers. So, for example, Johanna, because she leads our North American efforts, has a monthly spend owners meeting. And during that spend owners meeting, not only do we bring the buyers to the table, but we bring the end user as well. Because we put out in front of them what the spend has been over the last few months with that actual supplier.
That's awesome.
And Johanna just came up with a great idea that we're going to do next year in regards to getting more visibility to diverse suppliers, and even more importantly, if we identify an area of disparity within our supply chain, we make that an objective for the upcoming fiscal year to embed that group within our supply chain. So again, there's got to be a more proactive stance when looking at the suppliers in which you're onboarding and the suppliers that you're inviting to the table to take the bids. Because, for example, I'm going to talk about our portal, our supplier diversity registration portal. That is still and Johanna will tell you, that is still a very manual process, and it's manual for a reason, because we know the suppliers that register at chep.com/supplier diversity, and we stay in tune with the opportunities that are available so that we can direct those suppliers to, well, internally advocate, right? Because that's all about supplier diversity, internally advocate, but also direct those suppliers' capability statements and value propositions, have they created one, to the actual buyer or the end user.
Absolutely. And I remember, Willie, how you apply that when you invite A&P International to bid for translations purposes, and you guide us. And that's huge, to be able to guide the person. That is a major thing, how you can help on that area. And that is a great tool. And Johanna, we knew that you were bringing something new to CHEP. So thank you for that, because we will appreciate more and more of that. Michael, besides that point of bringing more balance, any other thing that you would like to see corporations doing for diverse supplier, especially after the COVID-19?
Well, I think my focus is definitely, as I mentioned before, most corporations do a great job of managing their spend with diverse vendors. I think that identifying the disparities, being more intentional, and realizing, hey, we don't have to do it like we've been doing it in order to be intentional on increasing our spend, and certain ethnic groups. I think that's really, really important, because if they do not change the way they're thinking, they're going to continue to get the same results.
Thank you so much. I have a question for each one of you. We know that COVID-19 have brought a lot of changes in the way we do business. Even right now, we had to do our podcast also virtually, and coaching and sessions. What would you recommend to those companies who don't have the same development of technology, or that can do their businesses virtually? What specific secrets would you encourage them to grow their business? Johan.
Ooh, no minute to think or anything. That is a tough one, because I've been able to, if the company or the small business isn't equipped to, have, participate, whether in virtual sessions, whether it be because they don't know how to, I think they should hire or gather an intern. There's a lot of students from, whether it be Rollins College or Valencia or University of Central Florida, no matter where you are, they are in marketing major, and they are there that they need hours to do that need to be done as interns. Mm-hmm. Previously, in my previous roles and the previous affiliations that I was with CNFMSDC or FSMSDC, we always had interns. We had 2 or 3, and they were there, they're young, they know the new things. They know how to manage the phone and be on social media, on Instagram, creating the Canva posts and whatnot. That's one app that you create all your posts using the marketing material. Mm-hmm. So I think if they're not able to, they could have somebody, train somebody, and that way you're giving back to the community. You're giving somebody, a youth, an opportunity to come learn about the business side and then get the hands-on experience of everything that they learn in school.
That's, Johanna, a great comment that is available for it, because a lot of people just focus on what they don't have, and they make excuses. And I think that COVID has made many people to be creative. So that's what you just said is part of being creative. How can I cannot request CHEP to come to my door and beg me for my business, because I need to facilitate to CHEP how to communicate with me. So in that way, I feel a little is our load as a diverse business enterprise to be able to adapt to what is needed as well. So great saying about social media, great saying about utilizing and returning back to the community with those interns. Will, is anything that you can recommend also to those corporations?
Yeah, if anything, I would think that because we haven't been able to go anywhere, and I don't know, Michael, you may have a different opinion, and Anna Maria, you may also have a different opinion, but I think that the time that was allowed for us to kind of sit and be still should have been one in which you should have been more strategic. Because with every business, there should be business development. And under business development, creating your funnel, creating your queue of prospective clients or customers. It should have been able to give you time to think about how can you expand your current service scope or your current service offerings. If I was a transportation provider, I would, whether it be people or goods, I would have been thinking about, okay, how do I become a full turnkey operation, from 3PL to warehousing, from warehousing to storage, from storage to so on and so forth. Because again, a lot of the way that most service and product providers have been able to, and I hate to use this term because it's so cliche in this time, is pivot, is by growing their current service offerings. So again, from the operational scope, I totally agree with Johanna. Um, Updating your technology, bringing in an intern that can assist you, whether it be unpaid or paid internship, preferably paid internship, because we want to value people's times. But then for the strategic arm, growing your business development repertoire, if you will.
Yeah, can I interject my thoughts on that piece?
Please do.
I agree with Willie. I don't disagree at all. However, I would like to add to that. I think COVID and the period of time that we've dealt with this over the past 12 months has maybe enlightened us on what we should have been doing all along. I think it caused us to see, you know what, I should have been working on these things over the past few years in order to keep up with technology and keep up with how the world is changing, how society, our governments, our legislative system, how all of these things are continuing to evolve, but our businesses are not. Our thoughts, our creativity, our innovation is not. And so I think COVID forced us to start making some decisions. Maybe we were on the fence about should I pull the trigger on this now or later? And I think COVID kind of helped, ignite some things that maybe we were sitting on for a while. I know it did for myself. So I think you're spot on, Willie, in regards to that. I just think it's also important for entrepreneurs to always be in that vein. And I think of corporations like, and I hate to mention other corporations other than CHEP, but when I think about Coca-Cola, they're always trying to evolve, and they advertise all the time. They never stop advertising, even though everybody in the world knows Coca-Cola, but they're continuing to evolve. And I think that's the type of thing we have to now bring down to a micro level within our smaller businesses and figure out how do we do this. The one challenge is, which is different from larger corporations in a sense, is that the scale of financial resources oftentimes is a lot different. So the things we would love to do, like to do, I would love to do, I have the creativity behind it, but I may not have the financial resources. And I think sometimes that is a disparity with some small businesses. We just don't have the financial resources available, which actually causes us to be more creative. But sometimes I think that is somewhat of a barrier that keeps us from really advancing and being successful.
So, Michael, I just want to piggyback off of you right quick. We don't mind you talking about Coca-Cola, and we thank Coca-Cola for their business. But even more so, you just touched on something, the financial piece. Anna Maria,
Yes.
isn't that something that you kind of help many of the companies that you coach with in finding, locating investors or a financial arm in order to move their business forward? Isn't that something that you?
Absolutely, Willie, and thank you for being. And you can send me the bill for our commercials, Billy, later. The minimum could be a delicious plate of that seafood restaurant that you recommend me. So that kind of that. But in order for us to be able to help them with the financials, we help them first in doing what is right from the beginning, because we had a lot of opportunities for financial help. The PPPs, we have stimulus, we have things, but those diverse suppliers who didn't think that they needed to pay taxes or they didn't needed to pay themselves in payroll, or that they can hide things when there was time to use it and be ready, they were not able. So our first advice is give to the government what belongs to the government and give to God what belongs to God. Because even if you are very small, if you start doing business the right way, you could always will have a hand willing to help you. That is the basic. And then also there are many organizations that have brought out a lot of grants. So we help them also to prepare for soliciting grants. They were able to request loans. So it's important to even understand the basis of financials. And that's something that I appreciate in Michael. Michael and the African American Chamber, they have a lot of emphasis in understanding finances, because a lot of times the DBEs do not really understand what does it mean profit and loss, what does it mean to have cash flow, what does it mean to that. And so when the challenging times come, we are not prepared. So education is a major part of preparing and helping, and then allowing the resources to come. Well, Damaris, I think that we pass this to you for you to close us. It has been an incredible time. I didn't realize we went beyond the time that I asked you to. So thank you for all of you, and a great time.
Wow. Thank you. This has been great, amazing session. I'm so thankful to have you all here. We learn about relationship in our business, how important is that, and giving back to the community, and how COVID-19 has made us innovate our business, and the importance to do that. I just want to thank you. I hope all our audience has been taking notes. I want to thank you, Willie, Johanna, Michael, Ana Maria, for giving that great insight and on how to leverage being a diverse supplier. And thank you all to our listeners. I hope to have you all again in our podcast session on March 10, when we're going to launch our new next series, which is going to be Women in Business. But before we head out, we're going to watch a quick video about an upcoming training that we're going to have, and it's Engaging Diversity with DISC. So thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have you ever thought to yourself, I wish I could understand why that person acts, speaks, and thinks the way they do? How about the reason you act, speak, and think the way you do? What if I told you we could help? What if I told you we could teach you to take that understanding and put it to good use to best communicate and comprehend the people around you? This is the Engaging Diversity with DISC training, an all-inclusive approach to providing you the ability to reduce conflict in your workplace, to build teams that produce results quicker and more effectively, and learn to properly work and collaborate with others so you get the results you want. The DISC model of human behavior equips individuals in their professional and personal lives to understand why people do what they do, feel the way they feel, and act the way they act. This specific training will empower you in how to relate to coworkers and clients from other cultures, increasing your productivity, sales, and ROI. Along with this training, you will receive a personal assessment, handouts, and course book. This program launches on Friday, March 12th, and will continue weekly until April 9th, 2021. This program is a live virtual training that is recorded, so if you can't make it, you can watch it later at your leisure. Go ahead and get ready for the training that will help you communicate, collaborate, and lead people more effectively than ever before. See you there.